$1 million is typically referred to as the golden ticket to retirement. And if you're 55 years old and you've been able to claw your way to $1 million in savings on the median American salary, then you're well on your way to a very comfortable retirement. In the other videos in this series, we've planned for our sample couple to retire at 65 or 67, depending on how much they had saved. We're not even going to bother with it in this video. In this video, we're going to plan for our sample couple to retire at 62 and show you how it can be done very comfortably. But we're also going to take it a step further and figure out how we can get them to retire in just 5 years. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Financial Wellness Planning. My name is Derek Coffey, and I'm the founder of FWP. And if you've made it to 55 and you've amassed $1 million in your retirement accounts, then your working days are certainly numbered. Now, before we go any further with this video, there are two things that I want to mention. The first of which is this is going to be the last video in this series. And the reason that is because if you're 55 and you've built yourself $1 million nest egg on the median US salary, then you've done almost everything that you can do. The whole point of all of the content that I put out is I want it to be reasonable. To build a scenario where a 55-year-old couple would have much more than $1 million saved is teetering on the edge of unreasonable. So this is going to be the last video in this series. The second thing that I want to bring up is that $1 million should be enough for most people to retire and retire comfortably. But if you live in a high cost of living area or you have a very expensive lifestyle, then $1 million may not be enough. You may need to work until you're 65 or you're 67. But for our sample couple, the same couple we've used in all of these videos, $1 million is going to be more than enough. Now, before we get into actually building our sample couple's retirement plan, we need to lay the groundwork for where they are currently and what we expect for them to experience in their retirement. Right now, our couple brings in $130,000 a year before taxes. Their monthly needs-based spending is $5,000 a month. They have $1 million saved, hence the reason for this video, and they are actively contributing that 5% to get the dollar-for-dollar match from their employers. If we look into retirement, their projected Social Security benefit at full retirement age is going to be $2,000 a month per person, or $4,000 total. Their living needs in retirement is going to be $4,000. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the specifics of that in this video. I've gone over it in depth in some of the other videos in this series. So if you would like a better explanation of those expenses, you can check those out in those videos. But the $4,000 a month that we're projecting out in retirement, it doesn't include their healthcare expenses. Now, when we get to the planning software, it's going to factor in an additional $500 a month per person for their healthcare related costs. Now, this may seem unreasonable, but it's really not. Once you factor in their Medicare Part B premium, as well as a Medicare supplement if they want one, not to mention dental or vision costs, $500 a month isn't that far out of line. So for our sample couple, their all-in cost for retirement is $5,000 per month in today's dollars. So now that we've laid the groundwork for our sample couple, we can start building their retirement plan. And what you see on your screen is our sample couple has a 94% chance of not running out of money in retirement if they retire at 62. Now, if you compare this to the other examples that we've gone over in this series, our sample couple had to wait until 65 or 67 to retire comfortably, and it was all based on how much money they had saved. But with $1 million saved at age 55, our sample couple now only has to work 7 more years. Now, there are some things that we can do to make this plan a little bit better. So if we go over to their cash flows, we can see that they're going to have just over $3,000 a month to spend however they want. And if you're new to this series, I'm a proponent of them using some of this money to put in the bank and to have sitting in cash. And the purpose of this cash is to act as a retirement emergency fund. The whole point of that fund is to help pay for any big ticket items that they experience. So if they needed to put a new roof on the house, or if they needed to replace their HVAC system or replace an aging vehicle, they can look to the money in the bank to cover those expenses as opposed to having to overdraw their retirement accounts. Now, because our sample couple is planning to retire at 62 and we're planning on them living until age 90, we want to take as much stress off of their invested accounts as we possibly can. So instead of putting them in a position to where they would have to pull some of those emergency expenses out of their invested accounts, we want to build up a pile of cash at the bank instead. So out of that $3,000, we're going to take $425 a month or $5,100 a year, and we're going to put it in the savings account at the bank. Their probability of success doesn't go up, but what we are doing is we are building a $35,000 cash pile to cover any of those expenses. We go back to their cash flows. They still have over $2,000 a month that they can enjoy now. We go to their first year in retirement. At age 62, they still have over $2,000 a month that they can enjoy however they please. And this is the joys of having this much money saved by the time you turn 55. You can still save a little bit of money into cash, but there's going to be so much money left over, you can actually enjoy your life for the next 7 years. And this is very important because you can go and do things while you're still physically able to do so and know that you're not messing up your retirement plan. But retiring at age 62 is going to be the simple option. It's the perfect option because nothing has to change about their lifestyle. Yes, they're putting away the $425 a month, but with all of the additional money they have, they can still enjoy their life. But retiring at age 62, there's nothing more that they need to do. They just work 7 more years and then they hand in their notice. Because the chances of success are so high, it does make me wonder if they can retire sooner. So my next question would be, can they retire at age 60? And the short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, as long as they're willing to save a little bit more money. Now, if we reduce their retirement ages down to age 60, their chances of success, at least with this plan, decreases to 90%. And the reason this is because they are retiring at age 60, they're going to put even more stress on their invested accounts to produce the income they need to live. If they were to wait to retire until age 62, then they could start their Social Security checks when they turn 62. Because they're retiring at age 60, they're not yet eligible for their Social Security benefits. So any cash flow shortfall that they have is going to have to be filled by the money in their invested accounts. Now, to show you what that shortfall would be, we're going to look at their cash flows. And for year 1, their cash flow shortfall is going to be $12,615. But that's just year 1. We also need to look at year 2. In year 2, their shortfall increases to just over $13,000. Now, once Social Security kicks in, when they hit age 62, they're going to have $2,000 a month to go do whatever they want to with. But we still need to focus on those 2 years that Social Security is not going to be in effect. To help plug that income gap, we're going to look to their retirement emergency fund because we still want to create that pool of assets to cover those big ticket expenses. But instead of saving $425 a month, we're going to triple that. And I know that seems a little bit extreme, but work with me. So if we triple their retirement emergency fund savings and put in $15,000 a year, or $1,250 a month, their chances of success go up to 92%. Now, I want you to keep in mind, we know that they're going to have $3,000 a month in free cash flow. So if they're willing to take $1,250 of that and put it into the bank every single month from now until the time they retire, then they're going to build up a cash pile of $75,000. And the purpose of that $75,000 is that 50 of it is going to be their emergency fund. It's going to cover those big ticket items. The other $25,000 is what's going to fill those 2 years of income gaps. The reason we want them to put this in cash as opposed to funding their 401ks more is because we need some level of tax diversification. By being able to pull the cash from the bank, they're not going to increase their taxable income or their tax bill. And this is going to be important, especially from the ages of 60 to 65, when they need to figure out what they're going to do for their health insurance needs. COBRA is going to be outrageous, so extending their current healthcare coverage until they get to Medicare isn't going to fit within their budget. In most cases, they're going to have to go to healthcare.gov or Obamacare to get their health insurance coverages. Now, those coverages are going to be based on their taxable income. The less taxable income they have to report, the less they're going to pay for their health insurance premiums. So by having this amount of cash sitting there and ready to fill those income gaps, we can not only fill the gap, but also do it without increasing their taxable income as well as their health insurance premiums. If they're willing to set aside that $15,000 a year from now until the time they retire, then all of their bases are covered. They've built up a sizable cash position to cover those big ticket items, but they've also built up cash to fill those income gaps. And by doing this, it puts them in a position that they don't have to overdraw their retirement accounts early on in their retirement. In the very beginning of this series, we started out with our sample couple being 55 years old and nothing saved for their retirement. To get them to a position to retire comfortably, it was going to cost them 20% of their gross pay, as well as continuing to work until age 67 to hit that comfortable retirement. In this situation, because of that $1 million head start, our couple has the opportunity to retire in just 5 years. This is the importance of saving for your retirement as soon as you possibly can. No, it's not always going to be easy. It's going to require some level of sacrifice. It's going to require you to get your hands dirty with your finances. But if you're willing to do the work and put yourself in a position to save for your financial future, you're going to reap the rewards later on in life. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If this video or any of the other videos that I have put out has provided you value, then hit that subscribe button. If you know someone that's 55 and they have $1 million saved, send this video to them so that way they can understand that they only have 5 years left. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.